Hey, good evening. I hope this Go Live finds you guys doing great this Saturday evening. Hopefully you had a great day getting some things done that you wanted to do. Even if that meant just sitting and resting and recharging, that still counts. So today I'm happy to report it was a good day. Woke up, my hubby spoiled me by getting me some Starbucks. I did my tarot spread that I always do on Saturday mornings, which is the Celtic spread over coffee, and journaled. And then got ready and had my lunch with Maddie while my husband went out to the Waffle House with Noah to have the boys' lunch. And then we met up, and then I went to Mystic Valley, and I got so many cute rocks, good prices there. I love that store so much. So we went there. Then I went to Cold Stone with them, and I tried the apple a la mode, and it was so good. I had that with a waffle cone. And then we headed home, and I've been making a lot of my love spell candles, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. I'm making sure I get a lot of those made, And they're just awesome in general to have any time of year, honestly, because I burn them quite frequently at home. I just love the way they look and smell. And we had steak for supper. And after this Go Live, I plan on getting right back to making more candles. So I'm happy. It's been a good day. So I'm hoping that you guys have had a really good day too. So tonight, we're going to go ahead and cover the Five of Cups. And like I've always taught you guys, fives in tarot mean conflict. No matter the suit, a five is going to mean conflict. So here we have the Roman numeral for five, and we're seeing this individual. It appears to be a man, but it's uncertain. You can't really see the face or even their front side. And they've got this long, cape draping down, and it's black in coloration. And it's like they're looking down toward the ground. And here we definitely have 3 overturned cups with 2 that are upright. But instead of looking at the 2 upright cups, this gentleman keeps focusing on the 3 that are overturned with no fluid, like no water or wine in them. And with the cups, you have to remember it's synonymous for emotion. So this card reflects, with these overturned cups, great loss. So like last night, briefly alluding to this, if you haven't seen the Go Live, check it out. So this was the Four of Cups, where in a nutshell, this gentleman just wasn't taking the initiative, to where he was presented with an opportunity. He had all these good things that are going on in general in his life. But it's all about that, saying is the cup half full or half empty, and the perspective on that, correct? Again, look at the Go Live, because I'm not going to go back through this card again since I'm covering the 5. So with the 5, we definitely have loss, without a doubt, with this. And so what this figure is having to do in this card, which is significant if you're reading for yourself or other people, there is a loss that has occurred. So this could be breaking up, like a loss of a relationship, a family member. It could be a loss of a job where it was unexpected. Finances. It could be something that came up that totally drained the finances and was not expected. And it's really caught our figure here, this gentleman, off guard, to where he's having to process that pain, because it's important he does not compartmentalize it and just pick up the 2 cups, cross the bridge, and go home without processing this pain first. Because as human beings, that's what we all tend to do on a day-to-day basis. The things that cause us stress and pain, we try to kind of push it down as far as we can and keep going every day. But the thing is if you don't take time to really reflect as far as like time by yourself, thinking on something, journaling, talking to a friend or family member that you've got a real good relationship with. If you don't take the time to process, live in the pain, experience it, put it into words, get help if you need help, then it's going to be with you and really impact the rest of your journey, because you have to deal with the pain and you got to face it. And so, generally speaking, if the card is in reverse, that means that the person's not at their lowest point. At this point, this would be like the lowest point, that hard realization of that loss. If it's reversed, it means, generally speaking, the opposite of the foundational, like the primary meaning of the card, meaning they're not at their lowest point. They have faced this loss, reflected on it, and are ready to put that loss behind them in the past and not carry it with them, and take those 2 cups and really move forward on their journey in life and do well. Because if you look here, here's the bridge, and then here is a house. Okay, so again, he's got to process this first, take care of this before he picks up those 2 cups. And then as far as the color scheme, so the land, instead of being green, it's yellow. So when I see that, we're thinking about the beautiful sunshine and how it feels on our face. There's warmth, enlightenment. We can see our path. That's knowledge. So I think that's really symbolic of, through loss, through our failures, from the things that don't go well in life, those are hard lessons learned, and we evolve from those. And hopefully we take those lessons and we grow and mature as human beings and help other people along the way. And we tell them, hey, just give me a heads up. You may not want to do what I did. Let me tell you what I did. Think about your elders growing up, especially your grandparents, when they would tell you stories about, oh, you really shouldn't be doing that. And you'd be like, whatever. Like, you'd be thinking, they're so old. Like, you would dismiss their knowledge and wisdom, thinking, they don't know. Like, they're ancient. This is back during when they're young, right? But the thing is, history has a way of replaying itself. Even fashions come back in style. Like, even the fashion I grew up with in the 90s, that's considered retro, and that's making a comeback. So it's like one big infinity symbol. Like, we just keep going and going around that circle. But I see that, again, through these losses and failures in life, the things that don't work out between relationships, jobs, maybe not the best decisions with money, that we kind of analyze what we could do differently and move forward. And that's all any of us can do. And with this, his boots are yellow, which means the same thing. So I think this individual is taking the time to process, which is good, because his back is to the 2 cups, which hold promise. And that would be his future, his best way of moving forward. These hold the potential. These could also stand for like his family, friends, support system that he has. He's not alone in this endeavor, but instead he's just taking the time to be present. And then we notice the water running under the bridge. And again, water's synonymous with emotion. So I feel like it would not necessarily be a bad idea for this fella to get a fishing pole and get his pole wet and maybe have something cold to drink and sit there and do some fishing and reflect about what didn't work out. Because right now, both feet are firmly on the ground. But the thing is those emotions are a very real thing, and he needs to take the time to reflect on them. So here's hoping he actually did pack a little fishing pole and some bait and some little something to drink and maybe some snacks. He can process the loss before he moves on, figuratively speaking. And so then the white, so that bridge is white in coloration. That's what's going to get him home. So we think of purity, truth, potential. Like, for example, if you see a white wall, you think, well, shoot, I could paint that any color I want. you know? So it's like a blank slate. So that's another way of looking at the card. And that's the same thing with the sky. It's also white. So there's no sun or clouds or anything else really in that sky. And I think it has a similar meaning to it. Now, as far as looking, I'll look at some things I wrote down on key meanings. And I'll keep my card here held up for you guys because this is our original Rider-Waite-Smith card. So the key meanings would be loss, leaving, and sorrow, turning inward, processing sadness and grief, hanging on to failures from the past, which, yeah, he's going to have to work on that emotional state. And again, it's gender neutral. I say he, but it could be he or she. We're just talking about the energy of the card. Again, not seeing those upright cups, which are sources of support, new opportunities. So that's what he does have in store once he works through these things. And again, it's really crucial to take the time to process and heal with this card. You know, let's see here. And I wrote down the need to turn around, pick up the cups, which would be these 2 cups, not the failures, not the overturned ones. He's going to end up like throwing these guys away. They're no good. They don't serve him anymore. He's going to take the 2 with him that are the new opportunities in his support system, which is in the form of family and friends. And he's going to cross the bridge for life to continue. However, and I underline this and I cover this, he must first process and reflect on the sadness before he picks up those cups to cross that bridge. And also, I like this when I read it, and I agree with it. Change is a constant. So we're touching briefly back on that major arcana death card. Think of the snake shedding its skin every so often. Our whole lives, we are evolving and going through change. Happiness and sadness are not permanent. So we have to know when we're happy or sad, it will not always be that way. There's these fluctuations in life, you know. And like my daddy used to always say, like every hound dog has its day. So some days that little hound dog might feel kind of bummed out. If he went hunting with, say, his owner and he didn't catch anything, well, he'll just sit on the porch and doze off and probably dream of catching something. But he's going to keep that hope that the next time he goes hunting that maybe he'll catch some little something. Well, the same thing. It doesn't mean just because you're having a bad day that your whole life is going to be bad, and that at any time, you don't need a new year to do it. You can start anew and fresh and do better than the day before. And that's any of us. That's all we can do because we're flawed and we're human. So that covers the meanings for this card. And now, like I always do, I'll go over some other cards. So here we have this gentleman, and he has a not open stance. So you see how his leg right here is crossed. So it's not an open position. Like if you saw this person, you're not going to try to approach them and strike up a conversation because they're very closed off. His head probably hurts. He's holding it with this arm kind of draped over this knee. And generally speaking, when people do that, like think about it. If you see somebody doing that, you think, well, they don't feel good. They must be sick or have a headache. So this person does not feel well. And so at their feet, there's these 3 overturned cups. And on either side, there's 2 upright ones. And so this mountainous region, so this individual's on the top of a cliff, it shows that they've endured some obstacles. And life has happened. There's been change and there's been a loss. And he's just having to process and reflect upon that before he picks up these 2 cups that are the opportunities in his support system, and then move forward, starting off on the right foot. And these things, he'll just end up chucking them. He'll put them in a trash bag and get rid of them once he processes the pain and deals with it. Because again, they don't serve him. You know, so I like what the artist did with this one. Then we have this one where the lady is just sitting there, and just note the color. So we've got that really pretty clear sky, and there's some stars. It looks like she's on a beach. And so she's looking downward. Okay, so this, when you think of a hole, you think of trying to maybe bury something. And with this, she's got one foot in this cup that's overturned, and coming from it would be this liquid that is yellow in coloration. And then at the very center of the hole, it's white. So I think this is part of her processing her feelings and emotions. And from doing that, from processing and working through that pain and just acknowledging her emotions and allowing herself the time to just kind of exist and process them, she's reflecting as well and gaining insight and knowledge that will help herself on her journey. And again, this could be a man. It doesn't have to be male or female, and other people. And so all these other cups that are overturned, they kind of like, if anything, led up to this. So it's almost like it's one crack in the ground led to another. So it was like a domino effect, where this individual may have had one thing go wrong. It led to another thing, to another, to where it's like overwhelming, like, give me a break, you know? And then again, it's showing here with that foot being in there with that liquid making contact. So any type of water, wine, liquid, fluid, that stands for emotion. So it shows that she's in touch with her emotions. But see, her like hands are planted on the ground, right? So she's got a hand planted on the ground, and actually this one is holding up a cup with fluid, and it's a full cup. And she sees that it's there. Okay, so once she's done dealing with all this loss, then she's going to pick up that cup and move on with her life, you know, but she knows she cannot do that until she allows herself the time to be a human being and just simply exist and process it. And so behind her, we've got the ocean. So there's all sorts of emotion going on. And it looks like there's a little bit of black coloration along the sides, but it also shows a light. It's just a lightning effect up here, to where this is lighter than the rest of the card, to where there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that she will not always feel sad, and that this is okay. So then we have here, this is from my Alice in Wonderland deck. So here she is, and she's too small, and she was probably shaking that table around, and 3 of those cups totally fell over on her. And she has 2 that are upright, but instead of focusing on the 2 that are upright that she could easily reach and drink from, she keeps reaching for these 3 on top of the table that she can't reach anyway, and there's nothing in them. And so when I see this kind of shows the need to maybe have that time to process and reflect. And again, take the time to process that loss. She can't backtrack and say, you know, in this situation, she's too small. Life made her small. She bit out of something out of proportion with the rest of her environment. It probably seems a bit overwhelming because everything seems bigger than her. She's had all this loss. She probably feels alone. She keeps reaching. So that could be like trying to correct something that's just past the point of correcting. There's no correcting it at this point. Loss has occurred. It's time to let go. Even if we're the reason that things fall apart and fail, it's reflecting and taking ownership of these things and knowing that we're human. And then after we process our pain and loss, picking up those 2 cups, I imagine she'll want to hydrate a little bit, but she's going to have to keep her cup full before she continues her journey, you know? And I love the color of the curtains in the background. So we've got that crimson color, which shows like power. It shows victory. And then we have the little things that are used to tie them, the curtain ties. Those are purple. that shows that there's divine influence there. So when you think of purple, you think of the divine, and the floor, it's like blue and purple. And so when we think of blue, we always think of the water. So it could be emotions. We also think of tranquility, calm. But yeah. And then the background there, it's like I don't know, like a smoky gray. So it's very neutral, you know. I like that card a lot, though. Now this one shows this guy, and he screwed up. So this is either his mother or his wife is giving him the what's what. He screwed up. It looks like it's a full moon. So, you know, people don't act right anyway on full moons. You've got stranger behavior and crazier occurrences. And her hand is all the way up. Okay, and she's pointing at him, and he's acting all goofy, and he's plugging his ears. He's not listening. He's got these 2 cups, which would be his support system and new opportunities. But see, here's all his failures and loss. And the thing is it doesn't sound like he's in a place to listen. So it could be that he knows he screwed up, but he's not ready maybe to talk about it with her. Or maybe he's tired of this figure nagging at him, and he's like, just leave me alone, you know? So this dynamic is a trip. So the same thing, he's got to process this loss. He's kind of like got his back turned to these cups, though. So to me, when I see this, it shows somebody they're not taking the time to do what we're talking about. And they're not taking the time to accept help from others and get their perspective about what occurred. And until, as people, we move past these failures and losses, we're not going to be able to continue on in our journey. You know, we have to take ownership of the things that don't go well, and that's okay because we're meant to screw up, you know. But here we've got the water in the background, which is really similar, okay, to even this one. We've got that ocean in the background. So see, that's a common theme. And notice that his stance, not only are his ears plugged up, but his legs are crossed, you know. And then look at the colors of their garments. So here's blue. So again, think of nurses, police officers, they wear blue. So that would be like, when you think of what that color means, that's like truth. You know, like a pretty, you know, sky blue day. Think of how that makes you feel kind of thing. And then here, if you look at this, so we've got that purple. So we do have divine influence that will guide this gentleman on his path. And his hat's also the color purple. And it's pointy. So it shows to me that life happens. And, you know, from a fatalistic viewpoint, that the powers that be may have different plans for us, you know. But it also shows that he's got that red. He'll figure it out. You know, he will be victorious, but he's got to process all this first, you know. And, yeah, I think that's it on that card. And then my last card is from the Hush Tarot, which is the one I always end with. This one's not so bad. I mean, we don't have all those symbols like we do with the Rider-Waite. But when I see this, it looks like this lady, I mean, her eyeshadow's pretty cool. She's got some black eyeshadow on. But when you think of black, you think of darkness. Things are not illuminated. How it is when you go into a deep sleep and you're dreaming, like the need to turn inward and think and meditate. It looks to me with her draping long black hair, and with these little flowers that are dying, their petals are falling off. She is having to cope with loss and change, and it looks like she's even praying. So it would show the need to maybe rely on your faith. And there's just certain things in life we have no control over, and you have to turn it over to your higher power, whichever form that might take based on your faith. You know, faith is an important thing, you know, and taking the time to take care of yourself. And just to know you're not alone, you know, make sure that you really lean on the people that you trust and that you love a lot, because they're there to help you on your life journey. And that pretty well sums up this card. And I'll go ahead and I've recently started doing this because I like doing it. And you can see can watch for any type of commonalities here. You can see that. Again, it's good to get those decks based in the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is what that is, which is the OG Classic, because those symbols that carry over makes it a lot easier to read your cards. Versus if you get a deck that's not conventional, if it's not based in Rider-Waite-Smith, it gets a lot more challenging and complex, you know. So that sums that up. Is tomorrow I'll hop on at 8 p.m. and I will do our group tarot and oracle card readings for the week. And I think that'd be the gist of it. And then I will keep you up to date about all the exciting stuff going on with my small business. And of course my candles. I will post pictures and all that good stuff as I'm creating them and post those in the group. And if you need a reading, say if you need to cut up with me, I can do a reading for you. Just check me out on my website, which would be www.mountaincrowtarot.com, to check out the type of readings I do and my prices. And of course, my candles are on there. And yeah, we'll go from there. Don't sweat the details. We'll figure it out. And I really appreciate your time. And I hope you have a good one. And I'll see you tomorrow to do our group readings. Good night.